Analog thoughts.
Analogue thoughts.
Analog thoughts.
Analog thoughts. Analog thoughts.
Analog thoughts.
We got them holidays. We doing it every day. So check out my holiday. Can you see my holiday? Do you like my holiday? I'm doing it every day. Those holidays go away. And holiday, yo. What's poppin', everybody? First and foremost, I'd like to encourage you to leave a like, a rating, a comment, a review, click the subscribe, do the thingy on the Flim Flam, whatever streaming service you're listening on, click that wing wang on the doodad. Secondly, I want to thank all of the people who support me over on Patreon. I am infinitely thankful for your support. And that's right, I do have a Patreon. The link to that will be in the show's notes. This is going to be an episode all about Santa Claus and the science behind the technology that makes his journey across the world, delivering presents to billions of children possible. I also have an episode that is all about the origins of Christmas. It's my 9th episode, and it's titled Christmas Origins. I talk about where all of our Christmas traditions came from, how they transformed over time. So if you'd like to know more about where we got the Christmas tree, mistletoe, the Yule log, Santa, give that episode a listen. Like I said, it's episode 9. It's called Christmas Origins. And essentially most of the traditions we have today were taken from the ancient pagans by the Catholic Church. I also talk about how Christmas was banned at one point and all of the iterations of Saint Nick. So if you want to do a deep dive on Christmas, check that episode out, episode 9. Speaking of Santa, speaking of Christmas, my son Felix just saw Santa. And the first 2 years, of his life, especially the first year, he was still kind of like the little baby, just pupa, and it was so precious because he's like, oh, who's this person with the beard and the red suit? And then the second year, he was a little more cautious, like, this is a stranger, I don't know who this is. And this year, he did good. He did really great. I sat with him next to Santa. They had this like long couch, but he was about it. He was like, okay, I think I can do this. I think I like this guy. He's giving me a present and he's got a beard like daddy. And I don't think he was scared of Santa. He was still a little cautious, but he was pretty stoked. For me personally, I've had a little less time to work on my book this week, but I am still somehow finding time. I'm still making things work, and I just finished another chapter. I'm going to share my first chapter on Patreon very soon. I promise. I've got it tweaked and dialed in where I think it's appropriate to share. Let's get right into why you're here. You want to know the science behind Santa. How would a single person be able to tackle taking a sleigh from the North Pole through Arctic temperatures to deliver presents to every child on Earth in just one night? We're going to get into it. But before we get into it, I know what you're thinking. Magic. Magic is how he does it. But what if he used science to do it? What if he used technology to execute his plan? Let's dive into a comprehensive scientific and engineering analysis of Santa's entire operational system. A look at the technological marvels that would make his Christmas Eve mission even possible. The first thing I want to talk about is the suit. That classic red suit that everyone knows and loves. It's soft, red and white, and full of adaptive nanofiber technology that instantly adjusts to extreme temperature variations. Santa comes from the North Pole, a place that already has extreme cold. Then he flies way up into the air. We're talking like 35,000 plus feet, like airplane heights. And temperatures up there can get between -40 and -70 degrees, and Santa's suit is equipped to handle those temperatures. Not only that, the temperature up there is volatile. It can change by 20 to 40 degrees very quickly depending on the circumstances. And that's why he has integrated phase change materials, allowing for instant cooling and instant heating into the fibers of the suit. And these adaptive nanofibers and integrated phase change materials help out in another way too. You've probably already guessed how they help out in this other way, but I'm going to go ahead and go through it. Santa goes down a lot of chimneys. He has to slide down into what? Into fire. And these temperature controlling technologies keep him shielded from the heat that comes along with going down all of these chimneys. And not only that, his suit also has self-repairing fabric that can instantly mend tear or damages. If you go down that many chimneys in one night, you're going to get scraped up, you're going to get scuffed up, you're going to get torn to shreds. But Santa is not. He's thought of this. He's kind of thought of everything to make this happen. And beyond the temperature controls, Santa also has biometric sensors monitoring his health and energy levels. So think Iron Man. Santa's suit looks soft and fuzzy on the outside, but that red suit is a state-of-the-art present delivery exocraft that keeps him moving forward into the night, throughout the night. I know I've been talking a lot about Santa coming down chimneys and delivering presents, but he doesn't just use chimneys, as we all know. He goes under the front door, he goes under the back door, or he squeezes through windows. Not everyone has chimneys, so he always will find a way in. There are countless ways Santa is able to get into your home. And how is he getting in through these tight, impossible squeezes? He's got molecular level compression abilities, and this works very similar in a very similar way to his quantum storage sack, which I will be getting into here in just a little bit. But essentially, his suit is able to rearrange the wearer's molecular structure, compressing the space between atoms while preserving biological integrity and functionality. So the wearer's actual full-blown mass remains constant, but it's distributed in a compressed state, avoiding health risks. Basically, the suit can make Santa get incredibly flat for short periods of time, and this is how he's able to squeeze through these cracks. All of the space between his atoms becomes compressed, he gets incredibly flat, and he wiggles his way through the nooks and crannies in your doors and windows. That's how he's able to make it through those spaces. Let's talk about adjustable scaling. The suit allows for precise size adjustments for shrinking to a few inches tall to micro-level scaling for navigating super tight spaces. Because let's face it, some people have bigger cracks in their doors and windows than others, and Santa's got this figured out. His tech people have this figured out. The suit's also equipped with rapid size transitioning technology, where he can transition between normal size and compressed states in seconds via a voice command or gesture controls. And now, I know what you're thinking. This has got to make a ton of noise. All of this tech and quantum reconfiguring. Well, it doesn't actually, because Santa's suit is also equipped with vibration cancellation technology to ensure for silent entry. He's kind of thought of everything, and he's been doing this for a really long time, so he leaves no stone unturned when it comes to, I don't want to say home invasion, even though it is, but he doesn't have nefarious purposes, so I'll just say for present delivery. Basically, a sound cancellation field is projected from the suit, and this helps him prevent being detected. Not only does Santa take all of these extreme measures, he also has an electromagnetic interference emitter to disable recording devices. And those emitters are actually in his hat. That little white fluffy ball at the end of his hat, that's the electromagnetic emitter. That's what stops him from being filmed by devices. And since we're talking about all of this molecular reconfiguration of his size, I wanted to mention that there's some fail safes or some safety protocols in order here. He's got a protective energy field surrounding the suit, which ensures stability during compression and shielding against environmental hazards like air pressure changes or molecular interference, because we've all seen The Fly, or you've at least heard of The Fly, and Santa's seen it too. There are terrible ramifications with getting your molecules tangled up with the molecules around you. Let's say there's a sleeping dog by the door. Santa compresses himself, turns all of his molecules flat, slips under the door right by the dog, and when he reconfigures, in theory, some of those dog molecules could get entangled with his molecules during the reconfiguration process, but this doesn't happen with his protective energy field. It keeps this quantum entanglement from happening. There's also another safety protocol in the suit that includes automated reversion protocols to return the wearer to full size if the system detects a critical failure. And it also has built-in anchors that prevent the wearer from becoming lost at micro scales or drifting uncontrollably. Let's say Santa goes flat and he gets, or he just gets really small. However, he needs to reconfigure his anatomical structure, his atomic structure. And let's say he goes down a tiny tube to get into your house. Well, to us, it's like, well, that's not a lot of space to go from a tube on the roof down into my living room. Let's say that's the situation. But on a quantum level, on a micro level, that's a journey. That's so much space, and you can get lost in that space. But thanks to Santa's micro scale drifting technology, anti-drifting technology, and his anchors, they prevent him from getting lost on these micro levels. And this is just the tip of the iceberg, folks. We're really just starting to get into it, so strap in. We're gonna move on and talk a little bit about the gift delivery process and what all is entailed and how he organizes these gifts and distributes them. According to current estimates, there were approximately 2 billion children on Earth in 2024. Santa loads a sleigh up with presents, plural presents, for everyone on the nice list. And even if only half the kids on Earth are on the nice list, that's still 1 billion kids, all getting multiple presents. And the only way anything like this is possible is if Santa is using some kind of quantum compression technology, allowing infinite gift storage, which he is. You can kind of think of it like how the suit compresses his form. This is sort of the same technology, but being used for a storage device. Using advanced quantum entanglement and spatial compression algorithms, his sack is able to fold objects into a subatomic quantum pocket while preserving their integrity and physical properties. Each item, each gift is encoded into a quantum state and stored in compressed form within the sack's infinite capacity. Kind of think of it on a if you know anything about computer storage, when a file gets compressed, let's say we're compressing a picture, it takes all the information and reorganizes it to take up the least amount of space possible. That's what we're doing with the presents when we put them into the bag. And not only are we talking about it on a scale where physics operate in a normal setting, this is beyond that. This is endless capacity. He's found out how to have an endless storage capacity inside of his sack. His gift sack and his presents are all synced with the naughty and nice list. There's a holographic interface on the outside of his sack that allows him to browse stored items, and they're stored with categories and tags and visual previews. It's all holographic, very high-tech stuff. This next thing I'm going to talk about is going to break a few hearts. And I'm sorry in advance, but not all of Santa's toys are made specifically with the person in mind. Sure, some very special items are, but we're talking about billions of presents here. What Santa does is he has many varieties of toys in his bag, in his sack, and he uses sophisticated predictive gift compatibility to match items and make them, and to slightly personalize them. He's got the technology to make sure all of the nice kids get what they want. And this wasn't always the case. A long time ago, he used to customize everything by hand, but these days there are too many kids, too many people. Which, speaking of too many people, the last episode of my podcast is all about the global population and the population situation we're going through right now on planet Earth. But anyway, Santa's bag even has biometric locks. He's thought of that. Santa's sack has biometric locks because what if this technology got into the wrong hands? Who knows what could happen? Not only would the villain who steals Santa's sack have access to this technology, they'd also have all of the presents intended for the good children of the world, and that would be the true villainy of the situation. Let's move on and talk stealth. How does Santa get in? How is he unseen? How does all of this work? Santa is using adaptive visual and thermal camouflage. And this technology is a groundbreaking feature that transforms Santa's suit into a stealth powerhouse. It provides him with unparalleled concealment across both visual and infrared spectrums. These nanostructures use advanced sensors to detect ambient light, shadows, and textures, ensuring near perfect mimicry. And the technology, it used to not be this good. And that's why once upon a time there were way more Santa sightings. Just even in the last few decades, we had way more Santa sightings. But the technology is extremely advanced now. He's come leaps and bounds even in the last few decades. His suit is coated with millions of microscopic, color-shifting nanostructures that replicate the textures, colors, and patterns of the surrounding environment in real time. The suit incorporates a thin layer of temperature-regulated material that can mask Santa's heat signature. We've already talked about the nanotech of his suit, adjusting temperatures, so I won't beat a dead horse here. Being able to change shape and withstand temperatures and store presents and all that aside, there's still one thing that Santa is pitted against on Christmas Eve, and this is perhaps his biggest challenge. And that challenge is time. He's just one man. So how does he do it? How does he make the seemingly impossible possible? 3 words: localized time dilation. It sounds complex, but it really isn't. Santa's suit, boots and hat and belt and everything, there's miniaturized chronon generators that generate a localized field that alters the passage of time, and this field is stabilized using quantum entanglement and exotic particles like tachyons or gravitons, ensuring precise and safe time manipulation. It's pretty simple stuff when you really think about it. But if you're still not getting it, let me break it down. You know how we've talked about compressing atoms for the presents and in Santa's suit so he can fit through tight spaces? Take that same concept and apply it to time. That's the trick. Santa is able to manipulate time. He's able to compress time. He can turn seconds into minutes, minutes into hours, and hours into days, so on and so forth. All of this time compression takes immense energy, but thankfully, that is where the milk and cookies come in. With an almost endless supply of milk and cookies, Santa is able to extract the nutrients and resources from them to supply his localized time dilation mechanisms. It's why he really pushes putting out the milk and cookies so hard. It's beyond a want for sweets. It's a need. He's got a nutrient processor that's able to convert the energies from the milk and cookies into the energy he needs for his time dilation mechanisms. It's kind of sad if you think about it. He doesn't actually get to eat any of the cookies or drink any of the milk. It's just fuel for his technologies. Another thing that's kind of strange too is although time slows down and he's able to deliver his presence at unparalleled speeds, from an outside perspective, he would appear to move at a normal pace. If we were able to see Santa, if he didn't have his camouflage technologies, of course, we would all witness him dropping off presents simultaneously. To us, it would look as though he was at every house on Earth all at once, which of course is just ludicrous. That's how it would appear if we could see him. Let's get into reindeer. And again, I'm going to be breaking some hearts here, unfortunately. Long, long, long ago, yeah, Santa had reindeer. He even trained them to fly. But it's been a long, long time since he's used any reindeer. What he uses now are 8 hyper-sophisticated anti-gravity machines mounted to the front of his sleigh. They're shaped like reindeer, for old time's sake though, because Santa is a sucker for nostalgia. And these anti-gravity machines take an extreme amount of power as well, but he's figured out a way to keep them powered. Every version of Santa and Christmas ever imagined creates a parallel dimension and a parallel Santa. These parallel dimensions, of course, create quantum fluctuations. And Santa knows this. He's not dumb. He's a super smart guy. Mounted on his sleigh are quantum vacuum energy collectors, and they harvest the energy created by these quantum fluctuations and fuel his state-of-the-art anti-gravity machines. Milk and cookies just aren't enough for the energy requirements of the sleigh, so he had to do this interdimensional energy harvest. And the anti-gravity machines have adaptive aerodynamic designs that can instantly reconfigure for different atmospheric conditions. To break down more of the nitty-gritty of the anti-gravity machines, they manipulate the Earth's electromagnetic field and utilize it for propulsion. Kind of like think of Magneto from the X-Men. If you're familiar with Magneto, it's kind of like that, except Santa's delivering presents and not like killing people. He's using the electromagnetic field for good. Also, and I think it kind of goes without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway, everything that applies to the suit applies to his sleigh. The camouflage, temperature control, time reconfiguration, all of that. It's really just the vessel that carries Santa. It's his transport pod, if you will. The image we used to have in our minds of the sleigh has now been replaced with a shape-shifting vessel comprising of quintillions of nanobots. And he's got all of the bells and whistles. Real-time global positioning, predictive route optimization, instantaneous environmental adaptation. Those are just a few of the features involved with Santa's sleigh. I wanted to talk now for a little bit on the science behind the naughty and nice list. Santa has access to predictive child behavior modeling. He knows if you're naughty before you are naughty, and he knows if you're nice before you are nice. He's been analyzing this stuff for a long, long time, and these days he operates with almost perfect accuracy while predicting which row of the list children will be on, naughty or nice. And just like the song goes, he sees you when you're sleeping, he knows when you're awake. global surveillance systems. Now, I don't want you to think Santa is a bad guy watching you all the time. He's ethical. He knows where the line is. But you better be good, because he's got cameras all over the place. Nanotechnology hidden in plain sight. Technology so advanced you wouldn't understand it even if you could find it, which you won't. So why does Santa go to such lengths to monitor and reward us, or not reward us, for our good and bad deeds, for being naughty or nice? Is he an extension of God himself? Santa is doing it for the greater good of humanity. He goes through all of this effort to prevent societal collapse by subtle intervention through reward and consequence mechanisms. Using the naughty and nice framework as an assessment tool, something simple we all know and understand. He's evaluating humanity's moral trajectory and attempting to steer it toward a unified nice. And that wraps up this segment of the podcast. It's been a lot of fun talking about the sciences behind Santa's suit, Santa's sleigh, Santa's propulsion mechanisms, and his naughty nice list, and his sack of toys, all of that. Let's move on to the next segment of the podcast I like to call Let's Ask AI.
Let's ask AI.
Today I asked AI a pretty simple question. Is Santa real? And I got far more of an in-depth response than I anticipated. AI responded, "Your question touches on something deeply personal and culturally significant. The answer depends on different perspectives. No physical person named Santa Claus exists who literally flies around delivering gifts. The modern Santa is a cultural construct combining various historical and mythological figures. Santa represents something very real, the spirit of generosity, childhood wonder, and unconditional giving. The idea of Santa embodies human qualities like kindness, joy, and the magic of unexpected gifts. Parents and adults who participate in Santa traditions are actively creating moments of pure childhood happiness. Based on St. Nicholas, a 4th century Christian bishop known for giving gifts to poor children, this evolved through various cultural traditions. The Dutch Sinterklaas, English Father Christmas, the German gift-giving folklore, and American commercial reimagining of Santa in the 19th and 20th centuries. Santa is real in the way that powerful cultural myths are real. He represents collective human imagination. He teaches children about empathy, generosity, and the joy of giving. Creates shared cultural experiences and memories. For children, Santa represents pure magic and possibility. For adults, Santa symbolizes the ability to create wonder and joy for others. The most profound answer might be, Santa is as real as love, hope, and human kindness, which are very real indeed. Amen, AI. Amen. I feel that strongly. Thank you for reminding us about the love, the hope, and the human kindness. Something we need to remember and hold on to very strongly during this season of intense consumerism. Let's move on to the fun facts of the day, and then we'll wrap up the podcast and get out of here. And I talk about some of these fun facts very deeply, or in very deep length, on my Christmas Origins episode. So if you have listened to that already and you're listening to these facts, you might hear a few things that you're like, oh yeah, I remember that. The first fun fact is that although Christmas celebrates the birth of Christ, it doesn't actually mention December 25th anywhere in the Bible. In fact, some historians think Jesus was born in the spring, not the winter at all. Christmas on December 25th wasn't celebrated until about 336 AD, so very long after the death of Christ. Fun fact number 2 is ancient Egyptians used to mark the winter solstice by decorating their homes with green palms, while the Romans celebrated Saturnalia with evergreen boughs. These green plants signified that the spring would return with new life. Of course, the tradition originated with the ancient pagans that thought of evergreens as having sacred power and association to life, death, and rebirth. Fun fact number 3, modern Christmas trees, and we're talking these post-ancient pagan trees, have German roots, but they really took off in popularity thanks to Queen Victoria and her husband, German Prince Consort Albert. In 1848, the two of them were sketched standing in front of their tree with their children by the Illustrated London News, which quickly made Christmas trees fashionable. It's like, think today when you see a celebrity or people see a celebrity on social media wearing a jacket or a certain pair of shoes or sunglasses or whatever, and people run out and they buy it. That's what happened with the Christmas tree back in 1848. Some rich gentry, the rich gentry were sketched with a tree, and everyone was like, I need a tree too. That's kind of how it got extremely popular as it is now. Fun fact number 4. Santa wasn't always the jolly man in red. Older depictions of Santa from the early 1900s depicted him more sternly, and there wasn't a standardized look for his appearance. The classic image of a happy and plump Santa that we all know today came in part from Coca-Cola ads drawn in 1931 by illustrator Haddon Sundblom. Fun fact number 5. Rudolph was a marketing ploy. The beloved reindeer was created by a copywriter for the Montgomery Ward department store in 1939. He wrote Rudolph into a children's story that could be given out to promote the store. It was a huge hit with more than 2.4 million copies distributed in its first year. In 1949, Gene Autry recorded the famous song Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. And in 1964, we got the movie adaptation featuring the Island of Misfit Toys. I love those movies. Those stop animation Christmas movies. They're so fun. Fun fact number 6. Rudolph was almost named Rollo or Reginald, and his crew almost had lots of other names, like Flossie, Glossy, Racer, Pacer, Scratcher, Feckless, Ready, Steady, and Fireball. I really like Fireball. I wish one of the reindeer's names would have stuck as Fireball. Fun fact number 7. The letter X in Xmas, how people abbreviate Christmas to Xmas, they do that because X is a symbol for Christ, because it comes from the Greek letter chi, which is the first letter of the Greek word Christos. Fun fact number 8. It takes about 15 years to grow the average Christmas tree. And then fun fact number 9 kind of dovetails off of that fact. President Teddy Roosevelt, an environmentalist, banned Christmas trees from the White House in 1901. And then our last fun fact number 10, is you can call Santa at home in the North Pole. Santa's personal phone number is 605-313-0691. That number again is 605-313-0691. If you don't believe me, give it a call. And that wraps up today's fun facts and today's podcast. I just wanted to do something for this episode that was fun, because in reality, the holidays can really hurt, and we all deserve to laugh, we all deserve to smile, and we all deserve to feel joy and brightness and love. And I hope today's episode helped to elevate your day in some way. I hope you got a laugh. I hope you got a smile out of it. Once again, Don't forget to leave those comments, reviews, ratings, likes, all that stuff. And there's also that link to my Patreon in the show's notes if you'd like to check that out. Check on your mental health and check on the mental health of your loved ones. I'll see you next time. Bye.
Thoughts. Analog thoughts.
Analog thoughts.
Analog thoughts.
Analog thoughts.
Analog thoughts.